Hello, hello, welcome back. We are now at the Tetanus Warrens. Um, the goals in this area were stated in the prior video. If you didn't catch it, I've got two missions here. First is to collect corrosion crystals, similar to the shock crystals in the Lost Caverns, except corrosion-based. Not a huge issue, just something that I need to mention. We also have to defeat King Wee Wee. Now, King Wee Wee is kind of will probably be the more important mission if I'm um, being honest about this, because the corrosion crystals in here tend to end up being more bunched up. But we'll also get our first kick at fighting spider ants. Spider ants have are a lot like the alpha skags in that they tend to do you tend to do more damage to them from behind. But unlike the big guys, their front plate armor plating isn't nearly as strong, so you can actually get through it in a reasonable span of time with virtually any elemental weapon, be it corrosion, be it flame, you name it, it's all there. So that's kind of the best of both worlds right now. Um, so I'll admit that I've been a little bit of a self-plug individual. I opted recently to check out my like my original videos, the first four-ish of the Titanfall videos. And I gotta say that I am rather disappointed in the quality of them because, unfortunately, while I did all of my editing as a can't use that, looks like we are going with the doll. That was not what I wanted to take down. Here we go. But the audio quality wasn't there. I do all of my editing with headphones on, so I didn't realize that there wasn't enough, shall we say, resonance in my voice to actually be heard in the video itself, which I think is rather disappointing because they were fun to make. They're just not fun to watch. Oh, thank goodness. I don't think he liked me. Um, so I do apologize about that, and I will see if I can get to potentially remaking those at a later date or doing a full run of the game as I guess I'll call it a long play style. Because I think that the game is awesome and deserves a lot more love than it gets. I just wasn't able to give it the love it deserved, which is very disappointing. But I acknowledged my faults where they are, and I hope that if you choose to support the channel that our viewers can hopefully acknowledge that this is all a learning process for myself and for, you know, the editing for the really the entire system. It's totally new territory for me in many instances. Anyways, while I'm thinking about it, um, I was having a conversation with one of my close friends. For the sake of anonymity, my friend will be called Backdraft, as that is what they requested. But we were talking about the possibilities of like the characters in Borderlands versus other characters in various universes. And we got talking about pilot Jack Cooper from Titanfall. One of the things I like about Jack Cooper and his capabilities is that they often revolve around mobility. He has mobility that would make this area an absolute breeze to play around in. Mind you, at the same time, it would also be terrifying to try to attempt to run around on the walls in here because it's not called the Tetanus Warrens for no reason. But indoor segments like this are his playground. It's all about mobility. It's all about speed. It's about being able to get from A to B in a comfortable and competent manner, which is what he thrives with. The thing is he doesn't necessarily get what he needs in his own game a lot of the time. A lot of it ends up being side quests and areas that revolve around Cooper's mobility often end up being parkour sections in and of itself and don't necessarily constitute a growth in his character, just a fun little section with better mobility. Which sucks. But the thing is that if you compare him to the characters from Borderlands, Cooper has the advantage in terms of mobility by a long shot, but lacks the weapon capability to actually deal the damage that I think he would need to deal in order to beat any of the Borderlands hunters with any degree of simplicity, shall I say. Now, that's not me being cruel or unusual and saying, oh yeah, Cooper's weaker because haha, I enjoy these characters more. No, quite the opposite. I believe that these characters are probably less favored comparatively to Jack, Cooper, and BT. Because Cooper and BT, as you're playing the characters, are more relatable to me. They're friendly, they're trying to save their world, they're trying to make good of a bad situation, and they can only do that together. Whereas the Vault Hunters are just kind of there. They want to be involved, they're going to change the world, they're going to fix something, but they're also following the lead of an unknown entity who very well might be trying to get them into a trap. It wouldn't be the first time, it won't be the last in the Borderlands universe. I don't find that very compelling. Mind you, some of the Borderlands characters are, shall I say, more entertaining at times with their attitude on, punching opponents and their fighting capabilities being more entertaining compared to the mobility component. But I'm not necessarily concerned with the entertainment value as I am on how strong they would be. How hard do they punch? Which is why I unfortunately have to make a bit of a bold statement. I believe that in terms of capabilities, Cooper on his own would probably lose. Now, the reason, excuse me, bad hiccups, that I'm stating this is because I believe that Cooper, while being incredibly strong and a difficult opponent to beat, wouldn't have the capabilities to break through both the shield and the full health bar of a Borderlands Vault Hunter fast enough to actually win, shall we say. But I believe that with the help of BT, that changes dramatically. BT's lightest weaponry is more potent than almost anything that you're going to get in Borderlands. Um, but also the fact that his kit is based so heavily in certain aspects, it makes sense that Titanfall's BT-7274 would be able to beat the Vault Hunters relatively handedly. His focus on spacing, on, like, if you took each individual setup, one certain ones pop out as being stronger than others. Oh, I didn't know that that he was almost immune to shock damage. That's interesting. I didn't realize that. Eh, Nicola is a friend of mine, but here we are. We have beaten King Wee Wee. Eh, eh, eh. Ooh. Nothing worthwhile in there except for a explosive revolver. Now, its base damage is better than what I currently have, so it might be worthwhile to keep on hand. But yeah, I don't know. I think that BT would be able to do the job. I think that it would be interesting to see what he's capable of in this type of environment, but I don't necessarily see him succeeding where others fail, so to speak. Um, there is one Vault Hunter I think that could beat him from the original game, and that is Lilith. Lilith's setup is all about her capabilities to deal damage and her high speed. I believe that if she were able to use her high speed, her mobility at its absolute greatest capacity, that she could get ahead of BT and deal the damage that is necessary to deal to BT to win. But the other three, you have a sniper who fights at long range. Well, sorry to say, but the North Star Titan has that beat. You have the Brawler, but you don't. But the Brawler character in Borderlands could actually be beaten by Base Cooper, in my opinion. Brick is strong, he can handle explosions pretty well. But I do not believe Brick could outpace Cooper's mobility and finesse, at least on a aggregate basis. This is all, so to speak, that I believe that Roland might be able to, but that would come with a lot of planning around who he's fighting, which I don't necessarily see BT and Cooper offering that opportunity for planning in any capacity, really. But I don't necessarily have a statement on that. Now, the Borderlands 2 characters are in a whole other league, but I will get to them when I get to them. For now, know that they are characters that I am actively considering, and that we'll come back to this conversation at a later date. Um, in terms of what their battles would probably end up looking like, it depends on the arena. In a highly enclosed arena like the Tetanus Warrens, the Lost Caves, or in even like trying to think the Headstone Mine where we fought Sledge, those areas would greatly, greatly benefit Cooper. Their areas are fairly small, discreet. Fast mobility being Cooper's specialty, I believe that it would take more effort on the hands of the Borderlands character to actually fight with him head on. In saying that, everything has a upper limit. So I might be everything has an upper limit. But his regenerative factors, speaking of him as a game character, not as a human for a minute, his regenerative factor is incredible. So I can actually see him getting away with some pretty insane feats relatively easily. All right, so I officially have my favorite of the varying um, elemental abilities for um, Bloodwing. Got ourselves another level up, level 25. And with that, we have maximum potential to deal out damage and regen health. So, here we go. We are heading off to the east side of the Rust Commons. Sorry, the west side. The west side of the Rust Commons. This area is pretty standard, in my opinion. There's not a lot of enemies that can really do much to us here, at least not at level 25. We are over leveled as all heck. And that's the way I want it to stay. Now, I'm going to try to do a couple of side missions all at once, just so that when the main missions are done, or when I get to the point of the main mission being done, it's going to be another huge HP boot or huge boost. But yeah, can I hit the broadside of a barn? That remains to be seen. Yeah. With Mordecai, I believe the battle would come down to who is the better gunslinger in the moment. Cooper's mobility would give him the edge, for sure, in a base battle, which might throw Mordecai off his game. Because Mordecai might not be fighting at absolute max capacity, which he is going to need to, I can see him struggling exponentially in these particular circumstances. But that being said, I don't believe that it's going to be too much to state that Mordecai could potentially win as long as he's, catches the right moment. And with Bloodwing at his side, there's nothing stopping him from beating Cooper in a 1v1 battle. Where things get interesting is the battle against the Titan. Cooper and Mordecai would have to be fighting on absolutely all cylinders, maximum potential, to be able to beat Cooper. And I say that with all of the care and caution that I can. There is not much room for error on Mordecai's behalf. Cooper, on the other hand, has a Titan that can deal insane damage, defend itself with consistent regeneration. I don't foresee Cooper losing. And that's really a shame because Mordecai has what he needs, and he's able to defeat Titans from a later or from information gained at a later time. He is able to defeat enemies on par with Titans. But the problem is that BT is a far more potent Titan than anything in the original game, or than anything that that Mordecai and the Vault Hunters fight. So there we go. Brick having a specialization in shotguns and rocket launchers effectively means that Brick doesn't exactly have a lot going for him. His rocket launcher skills would be beneficial, especially with some of the late game weaponry for fighting against BT. But Base Cooper could probably beat Brick rather handedly, just on a basis of what Brick does and what Cooper is capable of. So once again, we end up in a situation of, well, who would actually win? I'm giving the win to Cooper. Now, let's be real. Brick has some insane physical strength, capable of destroying Titans vehicles relatively quickly. But Brick's physical strength will only get him so far in a fight with an enemy that he can't outrun. Roland has the best chance of the three so far, and ironically, probably the worst chance. Roland's special ability is just to drop a simple tool on the ground. Now, this simple tool does offer him a lot of options. It has a small rocket launcher on it. It's able to fire volleys of electrified, corrosive blasts. It is able to heal and regenerate his ammunition at will. It's a very meta weapon. But, and there's always a but when it comes to these types of situations, could it outclass BT? With the appropriate planning, I think it could. But I don't necessarily believe that the proper planning is going to happen on a whim. It would have to be pure luck. And that's just not something I can feasibly see the characters pulling off. Or I cannot feasibly see Roland pulling it off. The last is Lilith. Now, I'm going to show a little bit of favoritism here, and I know it. But Lilith is truly unique among her companions. Her capability of phase walk, I mentioned earlier, was capable of possibly getting a 1-up on BT. But that's not really the whole story here. Phase walk is capable of outrunning other hunters, and potentially outrunning even Cooper on a ground battle, with or even Cooper when it comes to straight ground battles. So there is a precedent here for her to be able to win against her opponent. Oh crap. Um so with a precedent there, why am I so concerned about it? The issue comes a little bit in terms of what her abilities typically end up doing. Her abilities typically fight one or two enemies very close range, which is not good against certain aspects of BT's kits. But she's fighting at hyper close range, and now she's also got to deal with major enemy output, and she's got to get out of there quickly. That is tough, even for her. So I think she has the capability, but if she can't one and done defeat the boss, then she's not getting through this. Right, I'm starting to get FGS. Sorry. The multiple focuses, I tend to hyper focus and get anxious and adrenaline rushes. It happened. I cannot feel my fingers right now. Anyways, the various capabilities of the hunters, there is a possibility that she could beat BT. But once again, it would have to be a one and done chance. And it's going to be very luck based if she can get out of there in one piece as well. Personally, I believe that she could do it. Her damage output, especially with elemental weapons of any variety, is unmatched. And against BT, the corrosion element would do a ridiculous amount of damage. But I don't believe that it would actually be able to. It has the potential. Her specialization being very close range and elemental focused, it's a bit of a toss up in my mind of whether or not she'd be able to beat him. She would have so 50-50. But given the circumstances of all of the other characters, I believe that the win would ultimately go to Cooper and BT. Anyways, that's that on the whole aspect here. Hey. Yeah. Okay, where are... Hate it when it gets hard to see my enemies, especially when they're flying over top of mountains and I don't catch them in time. That's always frustrating. Yeah, all of the ammunition has been regened. All of my health has been regened, and we got ourselves a special enemy. Racken shows are one enemy that I personally don't like. They tend to be very high damage enemies and more tanky than the rest of the enemy variety, shall we say. But I don't know. I'm surprised that I was able to beat it as handedly as I did, albeit with some form of struggle with it. But yeah, I think we're doing pretty good. It's about 12:15, and thank you for holding. We've got this in the bag, I think. We're going to finish off the last of these side quests today because I see no point in holding back on it right now, especially given the circumstances. No, not worth it. Not worth it. I thought there was a echo log in this location. Gotten to a point that even most of the new enemies are not really worth fighting against anymore. Oh, there it is. Yep, there's my echo. There we go. So at this point, as things are going to continue, it's going to be hugely lucrative to continue to do as many side quests as possible, especially given that I am now at a point where enemies are stronger, but are also enemies are stronger and more consistent as far as their level. So it's going to be easier on a more consistent basis to deal the damage that I need to deal in order to continue progressing. Hmm. Enemies are dealing pretty well, or I'm dealing with enemies pretty well. There hasn't been any major setbacks that I can see. You got a couple major enemies that keep cropping up, like the soldiers and whatnot, but aside from that, it's going incredibly well. How many spider ant queens are there? Holy mola. Oh, there's a gyro. Where are you? There you are. Now, I personally can't wait until this challenge is completed because I've been trying to do this challenge for years. And I'll admit, I'm excited. This is the payoff of years of practice and work. And while I would have loved to show every step of the way, a lot of my practice and payoff actually came before I ever got the capture card necessary to start doing this. Which is a little bit disappointing because there is because it would be interesting to show the full scope of growth, but sadly, it's just not in the cards right now. All right. Now, I think I've got like 2 more missions in this area. I think. Ooh, not worth it. That's disappointing. Gotta remember where the enemies are in this camp. There we go. We've taken out the feeder. Can I hit the broadside of a barn? Wait, that was nice. Oh, there it is. There we go. We have some banditos to take down. We got a little bit of distance, so I'm actually able to fight them in a more cohesive manner than usual. Hmm. All right. So Yeah. We'll collect the final piece of the puzzle here. Boom. And then it's time to continue on, apparently. Wow, I didn't realize I had as many missions in here as I do. Hmm. Cool. Well, let's keep going. So, this area is pretty expansive, but it's more tunnel-like in comparison to some of the other areas that we've been in. The dull headland is massive, but there's nothing in it. So this has a nice in-between, in my opinion. It has more space to run around and move in and focus on, but it also has a lot more in terms of availability of resources to plan and work around. Now, I just want to double check something quick that the all sales are final. Okay, yep. So we're going to go with the boom. Oh no, my shield has been broken. Whatever will I do? Because I definitely am feeling the hurt. Definitely. Now, while I don't necessarily think that this mission is important at this point in time because of A, being over leveled, and B, not using those types of weapons at all, it I always like to keep going on these types of missions and keep doing everything because I believe that is it's more interesting to show the full extent of what goes into a run than just, oh yeah, this is every main mission and move on. People who have done gaming challenges in the past that I've seen and witnessed, which are amazing by the way, a lot of them I do not find interesting because they skip all of the in between and go straight to the end of the game. They'll it, condense a 20-hour game into a 20-minute video. And it's just, to me, it misses part of the point. So, if you're wondering why I've chosen this particular style of video, being a bit more of a long play style or segmented episodic style, yeah, that's what I'll call it, a segmented and episodic style of video. Well, that pretty much sums it up. It's what I find more interesting as a viewer, so that's what I'm going to offer you as a provider. Anywho, we have officially finished the side quest once again at the 40-minute mark. Holy moly. Anyways, I'm going to meet you at the next section here. We are back. Mostly because I'm getting shot at. And I don't like getting shot at. But I cannot go into this knowing that I am dealing with some potential hazards and not put the camera back on the situation. So back here is probably going to become a fairly common area, partially because of some of the side quests that revolve around being in this area and the area behind it. So it will become a little bit of a, okay, and we're back over here again situation, which is good because every time we come back, we'll have more to do. HP regeneration is outmatching or outpacing everything that they're doing to me, which is glorious. Got some more ammunition back. Going to slowly but surely get all of my side quests completed here, because there's no point in leaving here unarmed and undermanned, least of all when we're dealing with this many opponents at once. Okay, this isn't good, this is not good, this is not good. Okay, I've regened a bit. Where is my... There you are. I was going to say, where is my enemy? But... Ooh. Very nice. Atlas snipers are fairly consistent, actually. But they also have some of the most powerful snipers around, which I think makes them pretty interesting and useful overall. Hey, let me on. There we go. Got the front fender, a rear fender. Okay, we're gonna finish Scooter's used car parts. Yeah, I need a rusty engine, a fuel cell, a couple of fuel cells. There we go. There's all of our fenders. Fuel cell 1. Fuel cell number 2. And one nasty old rusty engine. Perfect for Scooter's needs. Anywho, we're going to make our way back to New Haven, hand in all side quests, and then I think that's it for this video, and we'll meet you next time. All right. So we're just going to pass everything back in. Should be relatively short order. And then that is that. If you like what you've been seeing or are curious how the rest of the run is going, maybe you want to see a new one, recommend one of your own. All is fine and dandy in my books. What matters to me is that the viewers out there enjoy it. So, if you like what you see, have theories, curiosities, questions, or just want to offer a continuation, feel free. In the meantime, I hope you have a good one.